All right. Next item then.
Okay, Board of Education business, acknowledgement of correspondence.
Okay, so we did have a letter from Attorney James Allen on September 29th, and that was, he is representing Osama Siblani. And he cautioned us that anything that's said publicly can be, he can take action on. He is not suing the district. He did stand here and speak before us. So that is one letter. Then we have another letter from the Mayor Paletko of Dearborn Heights in regards to a meeting that they're having on October 16th at 7 o'clock at the Richard Young Center on the issue of opioid abuse. So that's a big topic lately, and we want to make everybody aware of that. If they're interested, please attend. For more information, someone can call 791-3490 or can contact the City of Dearborn Heights Mayor Paletko's office. So that, does anybody have any other correspondence that they want to mention? Trustee Petchikoff, I think that might, I'm guessing that that's an invitation to the upcoming scholarship. Yeah.
I haven't opened it yet.
Yeah, I have not opened it, but we did have a prior one for the scholarship dinner.
It is. It's
Trustee
about-
Thorpe, do you want to give the details of that?
The dinner will be held Saturday, October 21st at 6 p.m. at the Ben Jabal Cultural Center.
Okay. And that's a great thing to support because they give out many scholarships. I'm sure Dr. Maleko will be there.
Yes, I will.
He usually attends those. All right. Next item.
Board member committee and organization reports.
Trustee Hammoud left because her daughter is ill, but we did have a meeting earlier tonight of the policy committee, and the board was sent copies of the policy that we reviewed. We will put it on the agenda for next meeting. And then we also looked at a proposal for a company that does, that is starting to do policy revisions for school districts. So we're thinking about it, but price-wise, they were more expensive. Trustee Nasser, do you want to add anything to that?
They had a, it was about, oh, I have it right here. It was around $15,000 to get started with them. And then it was around $4,000 per year to go over all of the policies, whereas we're paying $2,800 right now.
Yeah, so besides the cost differential, there was another issue that was brought up insightfully by Trustee Hammoud, which was an issue of conflict of interest or potentially. Because it's already a contractor with the district. So that's
who
what
was
right,
brought up the
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was another issue of concern for us. So that policy met, and you will have on the next board agenda in November, you'll have that policy on the curriculum. That was the curriculum committee. Right. Composition, it was minor changes that were made. Last time it was reviewed was about 8-9 years ago. So we reviewed it again, made minor changes. Dr. Maleko?
It just mentioned too that there were minor changes to the policy, but then there were guidelines that are going to fall, which the board doesn't have to officially approve, that were presented by Dr. Gruber. So it kind of goes in uniform with the process that we use with the curriculum council and approval. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. I don't think there was, we didn't have
We
any other.
we did have a college audit meeting, but we'll report out on that. Dr. Mead will at the college meeting next Monday.
Okay. Board member superintendent commentary.
Anybody? Doctor?
Thank you.
Trustee.
Is that an
Thorpe.
honorary director's turn?
Yeah, no.
I had been, a few teachers had reached out to me regarding a letter that had gone out, I think, to the whole district regarding communication with the board, and I've talked with Dr. Maleko about this. The idea is we're not trying to stop employees from talking to us regarding any issues that they've got. All we're trying to say is go up the proper chain, take it to maybe the principal in the building, the executive directors, the superintendent. But if you're not seeing resolution, by all means, feel free to reach out to us on the school board. It seemed like some people thought that they were being told by the school district they couldn't talk to us. No, that is definitely not the case. You can talk to us. But let's just try to be effective and go up the chain. Don't just start with us.
I sent the letter, so if anyone has questions, I can tell you exactly what it says, but that's pretty much, I would have said the same thing that Trustee Thorpe just said.
And it was a guideline that's been in place for many years.
Right.
We'd have to go look at when it was revised. It was just something to protect the whole process. But again, we appreciate that because
We do,
one of the things that I do too is sometimes it happens to me where I get an email directly to me that hadn't gone through the teacher or the principal. And so in fairness, I always try to say, well, have you tried to resolve it first? Now, again, once it gets to me, of course, there's a process, but there's, in order for us to be fair to everybody, and also, I may not be able to answer that question, whereas the principal or the teacher might be able to answer that first. So that's kind of the same thing that I do, which is what, I know the board does as well. So that, and I know we've also talked to, one of the things I know even the union has said is just make sure we clarify what policies and procedures and send those communications out. So, I look at it as a positive and agree with that process, so. Thank you.
Trustee Barry?
I also agree with Trustee Thorpe. That's what we usually do when somebody reaches out to us. Hey, this is protocols, what you should do. But did you actually see a copy of that letter?
I had seen it, but then they brought it up. They just mentioned it to me. And
Can we get a copy of that letter?
Sure.
It was included in
It
board
was-
briefs.
Yeah.
Was
and
it? Okay.
It was like a month or two ago. Well,
It was multiple information and reminders
Time
to
flies.
start out the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I probably looked at it and can't
You know,
remember.
have a
I don't
couple.
know.
It was
Yeah,
September
Could've been a
7th.
week
Have you seen
ago.
it?
Yeah.
It was sent to the staff
September
September
7th?
7th, so it'd be in the board briefs from that week, and then probably the following
Sure, we've
week.
seen it.
Yeah,
We can
Right.
re-include it, we can include it again in
Can add
board
it
briefs
back
this
in.
week as an attachment, the whole link to the information.
Good, okay. I wanted to ask for information. I read in the newspaper that Dearborn and Fordson will be joining the Kensington Athletic League, and Edsel Ford is joining the Downriver League. One of the articles, in the Press and Guide at least, said that Dearborn and Edsel Ford will not play each other again in the future at football. So I was kind of curious. I emailed the athletic director and I asked Dr. Maleko possibly about a presentation on athletics so that people know a little bit about the changes that have been made, pay to play we had for a while, and then we've now changed the middle school
Options,
intramurals
yeah.
also, so maybe we'll have a presentation on that, but I would like some more. I got information about why and the process that was used to change the schools. I would like to say I'm pretty sorry to see that our three high schools will not be playing each other. That's been kind of a city
Is it in all
thing.
sports? I mean, I know in football it wasn't going to happen, but
and I asked that question right from the very beginning and was told a
Okay,
different
so-
answer.
Right, all right.
The schools' football, for example, have non-conference games. So non-conference, you usually have two games where, now it might be different in the Western Lakes, they might only have one crossover game where they can play, they choose their opponent. You just have to come up with an agreement to play. With the Downriver League, they have, I want to say 10, no, that's too many. They have, I believe they have 8 schools in the
thought it
Downriver
was
League.
10.
Is it 10?
it,
I think-
Okay,
the
so
article
I-
looked like they had enough teams that you'd never scheduled out of conference.
No, in football they play 10 games, so they would, if they should still have an out-of-conference game. They should have at least one out-of-conference game. I think we're at 2 right now, and I think it goes down to 1. In any event, the conference arrangement is only for 2 years. So after 2 years, if we wanted to say, okay, well, this isn't working for us, it's not the best situation for our schools, then we can reevaluate and go from there. The key is this conference is not going to exist anymore. That's the big thing. So that we had to find a new conference to play in because the conference we're currently in, the WAC, the Western Wayne
Well,
Conference
the
won't be,
WAC, I
you know.
think, is pretty problematic because from the info I was sent by Mr. Picano, Clarenceville has about 560 students. And then at the other end, we have Fordson with almost 3,000.
3,000,
Right.
yeah.
That's not a fair competition.
No, it's
So
not. The
some of
disparity
some
is
of the
great.
sports they don't even have teams
Right.
for. So
Right.
it was a problem, but I see Mr. Andrews has left. Besides the emotional issue for a
Right.
lot of Dearbornites, I would like to know, one of the reasons that the Western Wayne Athletic Conference was founded was to reduce travel, right? We were going to Monroe, we were going to way out in Macomb County or other areas. So what will these leagues do to our sports travel budget, I guess is my question.
The travel budget shouldn't be altered too much. We have a couple longer trips for Fortson and for Dearborn with some of the schools that they play. But currently, like you said, we play Monroe, which is obviously a long haul. For Etzel Ford, the schools are all in the Downriver League, so none of them are very
Okay.
far. We're talking 20 minutes, each way. That was one of the reasons we didn't end up joining one of the other conferences, which would have had us playing Saline and the Ann Arbor schools.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really a long ways.
Right.
I mean, for high school
My
kids
daughter
to
was
be
in
going
field
an
hockey,
hour-
and there were no field
Well,
hockey. We
that's-
traveled
that's another
everywhere
issue. Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
the area because
when
there
I
was
was-
nobody, the field hockey was all in private schools.
When I was in high school, Dearborn and Edsel were in one conference and Fordson was in another, and Dearborn and Fordson never played football. So this is no different than the boundary line exemption, is that
Change happens.
it's going to change, and then it's going to change again in a few years.
Right.
And you said that was a 2-year contract?
It's 2 years,
So
yes.
most likely
2-year
it's going to
commitment.
happen.
For both of,
Few years
for
from-
all of the schools?
Correct.
Okay.
It's 2-year commitment for us, for Dearborn, for Fortson, in their conference, and then for Etzel Ford in the Downriver Conference, it's a 2-year commitment. And we did that intentionally, that we said we'd commit for 2 years. You can't do it for one. So
No.
we have to be fair to the conference, and then obviously fair to us, because if our boundary lines change and everything else, the Downriver League might not want us in their conference anymore.
Right.
So,
Dr. Musalam wants to comment as well.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. Just as being a former high school principal and looking at the competitiveness and building the it's not just about the sports. A lot of times within these conferences, you also have student government get-togethers.
Oh, okay.
You have debate. You have different things that happen beyond
point.
the athletics piece. Moreover, a lot of times with the schools that's within the WAC right now, they don't have freshman teams. So when they don't have freshman teams, we have to look all over the state for someone to play, and that becomes very difficult. Additionally, currently in the WAC, there are several there are several sports that aren't available that we host and we run, as well as when we look at facilities. Facilities is also another key component to this. So when you look at the overall picture, this is going to be better for our students overall, for the academics and the athletics, for the competitiveness and the spirit of it, and putting the schools into leagues where there's equal opportunity for size of school. So and like Mr. Mashur mentioned, it's a 2-year contract. And when I was still principal at the time, we would get together, the WAC principals, we would get together once a month. And we had a hard time getting a lot of people there. But those principals that did get together were always looking at what are some other options to enhance the Western Wayne Athletic Conference, and we ran into a lot of roadblocks. So I think this is going to be a good move for our students moving forward on multiple levels. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that in there from my experience.
No, thank you.
Dr. Maleko is reminding me, I think we need to extend the meeting. Do we need to at 9:30 or is it 10
No, I
o'clock?
thought it was 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock,
10
okay.
o'clock.
All right,
Yeah,
okay,
9:30
thank you.
past, yeah.
All right, so then, anybody else want
Request-
commentary?
yeah.
I did want one other. I sent out to the board an article in the Yemeni American News, interview with Dr. Jensen, and the title was, "I hope the next president will be from within and a separate board is needed." I had some questions about that. I don't understand some of the points that were made. So I wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and I wanted to ask whether there is any sentiment for a personnel meeting at the college next week.
I didn't read the full article.
Oh,
I think I
okay.
might have read the first paragraph or so.
I'm open to that. I would like to have that meeting.
Okay.
I think it's a conversation I would have preferred to have privately with Dr. Jensen first, but since you brought it up, you know, if I'm willing to ask Dr. Jensen if he would like to meet with us.
Okay. All right, so then I'd like to have emails from everyone one way or another by tomorrow, one way or another, whether you'd like to have a meeting on it or not. Okay. Then, Dr. Maleko?
Yeah, just a reminder in case there's anybody interested in National School Board Conference attendance, and I know some have showed interest. If we do register, I believe it's by the 25th of October, we get a reduced rate, and
Yes,
then
I'm sorry.
that would require us we had the school board meeting on the Monday, and we had put tentative if we end up going. So just if trustees are interested, you know, and I did see, you know, I was there last year, and, you know, you did have boards doing different things where teams would go, or they'd send one, or they would rotate every other year. So it's, you know, to the pleasure of the board, it was an outstanding conference. I think a lot of the trustees have gone, so I just wanted to mention that.
It's in April?
It's in April, yes.
And where?
This
San
is
Antonio.
San Antonio,
San
yeah. And I
Antonio.
think it does,
It
for those,
conflicts a little bit
with
with
the spring break, but not any spring break. But. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. And then if, just two other quick things. The Cipriano run is on October 23rd at 4 p.m. at Ford Field, right, Abe? So I just wanted to mention that's always a real positive event, and they work through that. I do have a chatting event that day, so I'll probably try to come if I can after, but I may or may not be able to be there personally, but I know Mr. Mashur and the team will be there.
Just so everyone knows, sorry, Dr. Maleko. First of all, you're right, it is 10 teams, so that means it would be 9 games, and then that's it. That's all they play is 9 games, so I was wrong about that. The Cipriano run, we moved it to Monday because last year and the year before was on Saturday, and there was some complaints that a lot of kids wanted to participate, but they would have to miss their soccer games or football games or whatever on the weekend. However, on a Monday, they wouldn't miss their sporting events. They might miss practice, but they're more willing to miss practice than they are to be missing a game. So that's why we're trying it on Monday this year as opposed to Saturdays, which it has been the last couple of years.
Is
Thank
that
you.
still with all the same grades as in the past?
Yes.
I received something from the elementary, but not the middle school yet.
Oh, the middle school, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So the last thing I just wanted to mention is, you know, trying to keep with the positive communication and with legislators or individuals, whether it's Michigan Department of Education. You know, I kept with that visit that I had with Secretary DeVos in August, and then I sent the follow-up communication. So it seems like there may be some interest in either meeting with me or visiting Dearborn, and I'm not sure, it just depends, it's a very busy schedule. I think one of the trustees, Thorpe, had even mentioned it. So again, there may be some areas where there's disagreement, but it's a seat at the table, and I just think it's important to keep that positive going. And we will be meeting with her when we go to highlight the great work at Becker and Dearborn schools in early November. So that'll be another opportunity to get before her and to continue to try to have a positive impact. And I think I mentioned it last time that we did make some headway with that Title II that would, you know, save a lot of money in Dearborn. I believe it's like 1.2 million, so that's a positive. So thank you.
I attended at the Michigan Science Center, they had an exhibit called 1001 Innovations, which is about the inventions and innovations that the Muslims and Arabs have contributed to the sciences, technologies, engineerings, and math. And so they have that exhibit going on through January 7th, and it would be a great field trip opportunity for our students to be able to go out there and see the exhibit.
Important subject
Yes.
areas, too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Good. Okay. Next item.
Request for information and/or future agenda items.
Trustee Berry?
Dr. Maleko, this is a subject that always comes up this time of the year when it comes to free lunch and reduced lunch. I remember back like almost 5-6 years ago, something was brought to my attention, and former Superintendent Whiston and I went over it. But the way I understand is that not everybody that's on the free lunch program apply. Sometimes we apply for them. Am I correct to think that way?
No, we don't apply for them. This year, we have a little, different thing with 13 schools, Tom? 14 schools that are all automatically approved for free lunch. But no, for some families actually apply more than they need to. So if you have one child, you only need, or if you have three children, you only need one application. But sometimes they turn in 3. But if they don't turn their application in, no, we don't do anything on their behalf.
Are there students that are on the list that are not aware that they're on the list, that they get free lunch?
Perhaps. I mean, sometimes elementary students don't know, but
Is there a way, do we track that? I mean, is there a way where,
for elementary, for everybody, we send home letters, but for elementary, we have students, like every teacher will know who's on free lunch within their classroom and who's not on free lunch. So as far as tracking, no, we don't track it like from central office, we don't track like what students know or don't know, whether they're on free lunch or not. Is that what you're asking? I'm not.
well, no, originally what started was,
I can
Please.
address the elementary, from the elementary perspective. The classroom teachers, they're with the kids all day. They have a great communication with the families, and then the kitchen staff, if a family has not turned an application in, then we don't know that they're eligible because we don't have that information. But if we can see that they're not bringing food from home, or if they're hungry, we will definitely reach out and connect with the family, talk with the family, let them know that this is available for them, and make every effort to secure those applications more than once. And I know that I just talked with the staff at Fortson High School, and they put in a concerted effort to get those applications back, because in some cases students are not bringing them back, but we want them to be able to access the food.
okay, this particular situation happened at the high school level, where a student was paying for his lunch, and then he was approached by one of the cashiers and said, "Hey, so-and-so, why are you paying for lunch? You're on my free lunch list," while he was standing with a few of his buddies. And the father reached out to me I don't want to get into the details, but he was on a free lunch, and someone said, "Hey, why are you paying for your lunch?" I mean, how does that happen? Where somebody's on a free lunch?
I mean, if they're on the free lunch list, they usually know they're on the free lunch list. We don't, the cafeteria workers shouldn't say that publicly in front of, other students. I'm not.
So there's no way that, if they receive, like, let's say, food stamps, or maybe they're under insurance with the state, that we get a list that that's the way it was explained to me 5 years ago. That's changed?
I'm not sure what you're asking, honestly.
Okay, I'll get into a little bit more of that one situation. So dad had a business, had life insurance, mom gets cancer. There was a cap on the life insurance policy. The hospital and the doctor switched over to a state help with the insurance, and that made them eligible for free lunch.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they didn't actually apply for the free lunch. Somehow, some way.
Somebody applied on their behalf. Sometimes Access will do. There is a provision in the free lunch that, for example, if a principal knows that a family is in hardship, but our principals don't apply on anyone's behalf. They always talk with the family and tell them that, look, you would probably qualify for free
Anyone
lunch. turn in
eligible
your
by the
application.
state, we must, and it's in bold print, we must use a letterhead with student services letterhead director, the director's signature, to notify families they're eligible for free lunch. So if they're eligible, we let them know.
Right, we let them know.
So how do they end up on the list without knowing, I guess?
I mean, I can't explain to you why a student would know or wouldn't know. They should know, but that's communication from home. Every student that's eligible or reduced lunch, we send them a letter telling them what their status is. That if they did apply and they're not eligible, we send them a letter.
They didn't apply.
They didn't apply at all.
They did not apply at all.
Could it
I don't
be
know.
maybe the cafeteria worker was a mistaken identity?
No, it was,
So they didn't apply at all, but the cafeteria staff told them you're on free lunch. Now,
There is a process where the state programs have a direct cert that we download on occasion from student services, from Fondy and Nahed.
that's what I'm referring
And
to.
right directly into the system. They don't have to apply actually in paper. They're automatically qualified because they qualify from a state program. So that's how they will get notified to us on a on a systematic process.
But just because they qualify doesn't mean that,
But they still get a letter if they're on direct cert too. We still notify them.
Correct, that they should still get notified.
So direct cert or not.
So if you want to share with me the information after the meeting, I'll look into that particular situation.
But it could have been that the family was notified and the student didn't know it.
Correct. Correct.
no, the family didn't. I mean, it was the father that called me. So, okay. I wasn't asked for information, but we'll just take care of that one. Thank you.
Okay, good, all right.
Okay. Meeting dates. Monday, October 16th, 2017, HFC Policy Committee meeting, 6 p.m. in the President's Conference Room at the Andrew Mazzara Services and Conference Center, Henry Ford College. Monday, October 16th, 2017, HFC meeting, 7 p.m. at the Andrew Mazzara Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom, Henry Ford College. Monday, November 13th, 2017, P12 Executive Session Closed Negotiations, 6 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center in the Superintendent's Conference Room. Monday, November 13th, 2017, P12 Board of Education Meeting, 7 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom. Monday, November 20th, 2017, HFC Policy Committee Meeting, 6 p.m. in the President's Conference Room at the Andrew Mazzara Services and Conference Center, Henry Ford College. Monday, November 20th, 2017, HFC meeting, 7 p.m. at the Andrew Mazzara Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom, Henry Ford College. And Wednesday, February 14th, 2018, P12 special meeting, open, 4 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom.
We're adjourned.